Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and I have some things I need to get done in my kitchen this afternoon, this evening. So this is kind of almost like an evening in the life video, and once I'm finished with all of this, I will come back and chat with you a little bit. So go ahead, kick back and relax and enjoy a little bit of kitchen work. Do-do-do, do-do-do, vegan prepper. Do-do-do, do-do-do, vegan prepper. It's the next day, so basically I finished filming and I sat with my family, and so today I'm going to be doing the update, but first I wanted to talk a little bit about some of what you just saw in the video. But anyway, first off, hi! It's been forever! We'll talk about that in a second. But basically I wanted to also create a curry blend last night, a curry spice blend, but I didn't because it took so long figuring out how to set up shots and getting all that stuff done. I am not very good at that yet, but I'm also working with a tripod that's very limited as far as the angles and the shots that I'm able to get. So I'm kind of on the lookout for a new tripod, and hopefully I'll be able to start taking some better videos very soon. But hopefully that was still enjoyable to you. But yes, I wanted to make a curry powder. I know that that's not technically an authentic Indian spice, but I do have several recipes on hand that were written by Indians that use curry powder. So I'm not 100% sure what the curry powder like in the spice hierarchy for Indians, where is curry powder, but some of them do seem to still use it. So I want to stock it on hand, especially like, for instance, the red lentil curry from Nishavora over at Rainbow Plant Life uses curry powder. And then there's others as well. But anyway, we would make that red curry all the time. It was actually part of the meal last night. It was a leftover red lentil curry. And I used the absolute last of the curry powder that I had in my house making that curry the other night. And so, yeah, I was making my spice blend. I did want to touch on briefly about whole spices. And I love to make my own spices and my own spice blends. Not only does it save money, but I just like it because I feel, to me personally, it feels like it's less to keep track of, to just make my own, rather than, and stock all of the individual spices, rather than always having to remember, not only am I stocking individual spices for other recipes, say Mexican rice uses ground cumin, right? So I still need cumin on hand, and I do grind the cumin myself from whole spices, but I still need those things on hand. But I also have all these recipes that use, garam masala, curry powder, chili powder, seasoning salt, and like all these random like blends. And so not having to add those to my list of shopping somehow seems less of a burden than making it myself. Because you see, I can make like a whole quart at a time and I'm set for at least a little while. But I do really love to stock whole spices for this purpose, and then just use grinders to grind stuff up. Number one reason being that whole spices have a longer shelf life. So when you grind up a spice, more of the spice is now opened up to oxidation. The surface area of the spice ends up being opened up to become oxidized. Volatile oils get lost. So ground spices will not keep their flavor and their efficacy as long as a spice that remains whole. So if you let the spice stay whole, it does of course eventually kind of lose its flavor and stuff, but it takes a lot longer because it's not being oxidized from the inside. So we grind up, I know a quart seems like a lot, but we will go through that pretty quickly because of how much Indian food we cook in this house. And so we do go through it pretty fast. We are very heavy with spices. We love flavor and spices in this house. And so that is part, I don't know if it's part of just like being vegan, that you get tons of flavor. I don't even know. So anyway, we love that. And so that's one of the main reasons. The other reason I think is it's just more versatile, right? Because again, we do so much Indian cooking. Many spices in Indian cooking are used whole. And so I have the option to use whole spices, or I have the option to grind those spices up. I use just a small spice jar at a time that I grind of each spice. And I think I do have a video talking about a lot of this. I can link that down below if I can find it, where I have my jar, because I have a lot of videos by now and I don't always remember what they're called. So I just, grind a small amount at a time. My spice cabinet, or my spice racks behind my sink, there are jars there, and I'll have one jar that's the whole spice and one jar that's the ground spice. And basically what happens is when I run out of the ground spice, I'll take the whole spice jar, which is full of the whole spice, grind it in my little grinder, and then because it's the same size jars, it's the exact amount, put the new ground spice into the ground spice jar, and then refill the whole spices and put them back on the spice rack, and they're ready to go for the next time I need to randomly grind a spice in the middle of cooking. It doesn't take that long, but it does happen. It does feel like it happens a lot, probably because we go through so many spices. So anyway, I love storing whole spices for multiple reasons. I don't know, it just feels easier to me than having to remember to buy all the spice blends. So I'll just make them and I have them on hand, like it's not a big deal. Oh, so anyway, there's that. The one other thing, what did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, the Palak paneer, which is Palak tofu. We put tofu in instead of paneer. That has to be, and I've talked about this many times on the channel, that has to be one of my absolute favorite recipes for using up a ton of greens. Like if you have a glut of greens for some reason, like for instance, out of my garden, I grow greens, but that's more fall and winter for me because I live in the Phoenix area. I grow so many greens that sometimes I get overwhelmed and I have to just use up a ton of them. I love Palak paneer, or Palak tofu, because we put tofu in instead of paneer. And so you can see, and there's a recipe for that in that book that I was using. It's right here. Let me show you again. The vegan Indian cooking book. I use this all the time. She's brilliant. Anupi Singla is everything that I've ever tried of hers is absolutely delicious. And so, yes, you use tons of greens. You saw that mixing bowl full of greens. It's like 300 and something grams of greens. It's a huge amount. And then you make a pot of food that's not that big. You saw how much, like there wasn't that a lot of food by the time it gets cooked and then blended. And it's brilliant. I love it. And then also, you're getting a ton of greens as you're eating it. And it's one of my favorite dishes actually. And I love to do that. So the reason I did it last night is because we had a bag of power greens that was just not, like it was half full. But it was like a few days past the date, which doesn't happen a lot, but we had run out of bananas. So we weren't doing smoothies. This is like vegan kitchen problems here. And so we kind of pushed it on the greens. And I was like, let's go ahead and use that. So we're doing them. And then you come across a pocket that might have a little bit of a slimy green in it, which is gross. And I do pick it out. But I feel a lot better once it gets to that point. I feel a lot better about cooking it first before I give it to my family rather than doing it raw into our smoothies. And so that's what ended up happening from last night. It wasn't a whole bunch of greens from my garden. It was from the power greens. But there's a tip for you. If you buy a thing of spinach with good intentions, or mixed greens, not so much like lettuce. I'm talking about like spinach, Swiss chard, kale. Traditionally, it's just spinach, but again, I used power greens in the recipe. And you kind of have all these good intentions. Look up a Palak paneer recipe. It would be pretty easy to make vegan. You can throw tofu in. And that's a really great way to use up a whole bunch of grains if you don't want your good intentions to go to waste. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of, I think, everything that I wanted to talk about the filming last night. So I can segue into a bit of an update. And so basically it's just been a really hard time for me. I had my knee surgery back in January, and I was told, so it is now, oh gosh, it's actually May now. Today is May 1st. So I was told by my doctor that it was just a super easy recovery. It probably is if you're already fit and athletic, and you don't have any complications. I believe, even though my doctor says he doesn't believe I did, I'm living in my body. I feel like I got a tourniquet injury from the surgery. And it is definitely far more likely that you will get a tourniquet injury if you are obese, because of the greater pressure required to actually make the tourniquet work. This was a very interesting learning lesson though too, because I think, you know, if you're into the prepping sphere at all, you've probably watched some video or some, you know, guy talks about tourniquets and having tourniquets in your kits. We do have tourniquets in all, like, Army issue tourniquets in all of our bug out bags and all of that. But like to actually feel as a real experience of coming out of having a tourniquet on my leg and how injured it was. It was injured for so long. Also insanely swollen for so long, and there's so many other little hints. When I was reading all about tourniquet injuries and what they look like, it was like exactly what I had been going through. And so I was unable to walk for a very long time. My doctor was like, you know, I was on crutches like day 2, and then I was walking, you know, at the end of the first week. Like when he had his recent surgery, he had the same surgery done that I did on my knee. It wasn't a full knee replacement. It was like a repair on the side, some injury, right? From like 2 years ago when I injured myself because I was with a personal trainer and I went too deep on a lunge and I injured my knee. And this is like, it's been a journey, like you would not believe, a journey. Oh my gosh. But yes, I got a tourniquet injury. I'm 90% sure. I don't know if he just doesn't, I don't know why he dismissed it. But I'm like 90% sure that I had a tourniquet injury. And so just like to give you kind of a fun milestone that I just had 2 days ago. I'm so excited, right? Or is today the second day? No, yesterday was the first day that I was able to put my jeans back on and my leg fit into my jeans. So I've begun physical therapy. I think that has helped. I've also begun a weight loss program that I don't really want to talk about a lot right now because I am not ready. We're ready to talk about it. I'm telling you, because if you are, I'm looking at this, if you've watched the video and you're 11 minutes into my update, you listen to all my talking, I'm assuming there's like maybe 10 of you watching right now. If you are watching right now, could you leave me a, what do we want? How about a green heart emoji in the comments if you're with me? I don't really want to talk about it. Like, it's a secret. I actually only just barely told one person outside of my family that I'm doing this. And I don't mean my family. I mean like my husband and actually it's funny, my older son doesn't even know yet. He's in DC. I have issues surrounding food. I do. And I do. I'm becoming very aware of that. So people say, how can you be vegan for like 7 years and still be this fat? It's because veganism didn't fix my disordered eating. That's how, you know, it helped a lot in that I don't have nearly as many options as I used to have, but the longer I'm vegan, the more options there are, and kind of almost the worse it gets. It was at first a very protective thing, and I lost a lot of weight in the beginning, and then I didn't sleep for 3 years because I was nursing my daughter for 3.5 years, and I gained a lot of weight. Cortisol shot through the roof, all of that. You know, like there's you can like see a timeline of things that happened. There's explanations. I'm not making excuses, but there are explanations, and these are things that I have to personally look at in my own journey and see and recognize as an explanation for some of the things that have happened, so that I don't beat myself up and, you know, try to head to my drug of choice to make myself feel better. So I do need to explain it. But yeah, that's where we are. I have begun a weight loss program, not ready to talk about it too much, but I'm excited about it. I've very only done a little bit, but my leg swelling has gone down considerably, definitely since I began physical therapy. Tomorrow's my last day of physical therapy, but I was noticing as I was sitting, but even still, I wonder if I should show you on the camera. You can still see my left leg is so much more, I might, you know what? Let me give you a little, let me show you. Here's my right leg, the one that was not operated on. You see this nice little swoop right here? That is my knee. So obviously, like I said, I have a lot of weight to lose, but you can see my knee on my right leg. This is my left leg. There's no knee yet. So there's still swelling here. I'm still dealing with that. If I come ahead, you can begin to kind of see where my knee is. But yeah, this has been a real issue, and I'll bring you back. I dealt with a lot of pain, and it's been a very slow recovery, much slower than was expected. But yeah, physical therapy is making me stronger. I'm doing much better. I'm able to be up and about in my kitchen again, doing a lot of things like the video last night. Just sort of getting my stuff done, right? I had to restart my sourdough starter. It's like my list. I had my list, and I have lists like that all of the time that I will go, and I like to go into my kitchen and just get a ton of things done at once. It's not me trying to look cool for the internet. Like, this is just the way that it goes. Again, for me in my own brain, it makes sense to go in and do a ton of little projects in the kitchen at once. Especially because a lot of times you can do kind of dish overlap, so it doesn't end up being as many dishes because you're using the same dishes for multiple things. Sort of just like immediately just sort of give stuff a rinse, and then you can use it for the next thing. And I find it an easier cleanup to kind of batch my jobs. But last night I realized I had this list of things I was about to go start, and I thought to myself, I've been wanting to film again. Why don't I make a video showing this? And so I kind of revamped my sourdough starter without filming it because I was getting started. And then I was like, wait a second, I should film this. So you guys saw it, but you didn't see the process of restarting it. And then my ginger bug, and starting a couple of loaves of bread for my family, just white flour this time, not, home ground flour, because I needed to just get something done quickly. So it's not necessarily super nutritious, but it is organic, all-purpose flour and unbleached and all that. And then they do things with it, like make sandwiches full of vegetables and tofu, or have guacamole on top with breakfast and a smoothie. And so like there's other nutrition happening around the white bread. It's like people say like, oh my gosh, it's white bread. It's like, it's a vehicle for other things that are still nutritious. I get it. It would be better if it was whole wheat, but it's not like they get no nutrition just because they're eating white bread. But anyway, so it's all organic and whatnot, and get the bread made, get the spice blend made, get dinner made, and yeah, so I don't know, I like to do it that way. So being able to do things like that again has been such a boost, and this has only been in the last few weeks, maybe month or so, that I've been coming back to kind of my full, not even quite full, but I'm maybe 85-90% of where I was. But it's been like almost 5 months I've been essentially down and not being able to do things. There's been a lot of inner work going on. I don't know how much, if anyone cares, but I'll tell you anyway. Again, if you're still watching, maybe you care. You can leave that green emoji for me, or that green heart emoji, so that and then so that I know that you're like supporting me in my journey, and maybe eventually I'll be able to talk a little bit more about it. But it's all very personal and mixed up in here, so it's not something that I'm willing to really talk about or share yet. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, a lot of inner work. And so one of the primary things that I have been dealing with internally and emotionally through this whole time has been the frustration and almost the helplessness of giving 100% of everything that I can give, and having it consistently fall short of what actually needs to be done. So I'm giving it my all, and I can't accomplish everything that I need to accomplish, that I want to accomplish. Granted, I set ridiculously high standards for myself, but our lives function around me doing all of this stuff. So it's been a really hard few months of not being able to do all of this stuff that I do in the background. My family doesn't always notice or see, right? Like where the spices come from, or where, you know, like they don't notice that or see, like it just happens, and then food appears on the table for them. And then, you know, and that's awesome. Like I love that being our lives, you know, because like I am a homemaker, but like I take my job seriously, and I have stuff that I want to accomplish, and there's a reason I'm here. We always joke my husband makes the money, I keep the money. And so that's a lot of our lives, the reason we are able to live our life is obviously because of my husband's hard work, but then also because of my hard work. And so having like months of not being able to really pull my weight, I guess is how I feel, having to look internally and like figure out, you know, what is the worth of a person and what is my worth as a human being. Even when I can't do that, I have a deeper understanding of the spoons concept. I used to apply the spoons concept pretty liberally to mental health and anxiety and things like that. But I think I now have a greater understanding of what the spoons concept is. If you don't know what that is, it's like a, I don't know, what would you call it? Not a rating system, but it's just a way of attempting to describe, for people who don't know, those who suffer from autoimmune disease, for instance, fibromyalgia or things like that, hidden diseases that are painful or fatiguing or whatever. And they will say, for instance, you have so many spoons a day. So some days you get like extra spoons, some days you only have one spoon. And so that would be, for instance, am I going to do my dishes, or am I going to go grocery shopping? Like you have if you have only one spoon, you have to make your choice, and you only get to do one thing, because once you do the one thing, you're going to be out for the rest of the day, like pain wise or whatever. And so kind of through recovering with the long, ridiculous recovering with my leg that has still not 100% done. Like it's funny, like my knee is doing a little better than my thigh, which is why, again, I'm very suspicious that I got a tourniquet injury, even though my doctor says he doesn't believe I did. Why is my thigh still so messed up then? I don't know. So anyway, like I'm not trying to be difficult, sir, but it's like I'm dealing with some stuff here. So it's like, if it's not a tourniquet injury, then what is it? Like anyway, okay. Sorry. Like in my mind, like I'm trying to like help myself out here, figure out what I'm trying to do. But recognizing that with the spoons, I think it does kind of apply to mental health, but honestly, like you can force yourself, which I've done many times. I hate to say force yourself, but you can encourage yourself. Say, for instance, I'm having a bad mental health day, super low motivation, cannot get up, cannot get moving. And I tell myself, because I'm 40 at this point in my life, I've had many decades of practice, and I just tell myself, you know what? Let's just do 5 minutes in the kitchen. Let's just go do 5 minutes. Okay. You know, make it so little that you can't, like you feel silly for saying no. We'll set a timer, just do 5 minutes. And wouldn't you know, after 5 minutes, 9 times out of 10, you're motivated to go further. And it's like, oh, you know, let's do another 5. Oh, let's do another 5 minutes. And then you'll end up, it's almost like when you begin, the spoons can multiply when it's like in the mental health state. But I understand now that the spoons are finite when it's a physical thing. Like really, I'd have days where I was having to make those kinds of choices. Like, do I go grocery shopping? And then if I go grocery shopping, I will not also be able to cook. I will not also be able to put stuff away. Like, I'll have to go grocery shopping, pile stuff up, get everything that has to go in the freezer, for instance. Okay, I'll throw that in the freezer, but then I gotta put my leg up and ice myself. And I can't put the rest of the groceries away, and I can't even cook what I've bought. You know, like, so this is kind of a lot of what I've been going through. So obviously filming has not really been, you know, fitting into that. But again, I'm coming back out of it. So anyway, my heart and I didn't understand before, and I know I don't understand still, right? Because I am recovering, and there's a lot of people who deal with autoimmune conditions who are not recovering, and they don't have hope of recovery. So my heart goes out to those people, and I have a deeper understanding of what people are going through in those situations. But praise God, I feel so grateful and so blessed. I am recovering. And so I guess that's it. I'm going to like leave you there. My heart goes out again to people who are dealing with that. But yeah, I'm recovering. I'm getting better. I'm able to do a lot more things now, and that's fantastic. So I am ready to go, and I have plans for filming. I'm going to get a better tripod, and I am going to kind of get started on showing how we use a lot of our dry storage, and hopefully you guys end up enjoying what is to come. But yes, thank you so much for still being here. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. I will see you in the next video, which will be sooner than like 2.5 months from now. I promise. Bye.